I want to talk about the idea of moving from a state of victimhood to a state of empowerment and how important this is with nervous system regulation, with trauma integration, with being a highly sensitive person. So, when we've experienced trauma, we tend to, well, very likely at the time, we could have been a victim of some sort of abuse or some sort of thing that was happening. And very often we feel powerless in those states, in those situations. And that's partly what causes us to accrue trauma or to hold this energy in our body. And then it holds us back. So one of the really important things when we're doing healing work is to move out of that victim stance. It's easier said than done. However, I really feel like this is an important topic these days because as a society, we've really moved more and more into a victim type of headspace. More and more, there's this expectation that people need to tiptoe around us to cater to our particular sensitivities, to our preferences about how we want to be in the world. And so we have, there's sort of this idea that we have this expectation that people need to sort of cater to our needs and to our sensitivities and to all that stuff. And that is not reality. Not only that, but it's very disempowering to be into that state. What I would suggest is that we come from a place of strength and of safety within ourselves so that it doesn't really matter what happens in the external world. We feel safe. We feel powerful within ourselves. And so the things that are happening outside of us don't matter as much. And I believe it's Peter Crone who has this, who says, you're either 100% responsible for your life or you're a victim. And that might be a somewhat controversial thought because many people may say, well, I did experience all these awful things. It wasn't my fault that it happened. And I would agree with that 100%. That it's not your fault what happens to you. However, it is your responsibility how you show up, what you do with your past, and how you present yourself to the world. So a lot of the work that I do with people is to help them step into this power that's inherently yours. Don't give it to anybody else. If somebody is not using the language that you want, they are not acting in a way that you want, they're not performing in a way that you want, well, too bad, because that's sort of the real world, right? And so we need to figure out, access the power and step into our ownership of our lives so that we are not victim to the stuff that's going on around us. We are not victim to people and how they behave. We're not victim to how the world is choosing to deal with certain populations. We are coming from a place of empowerment. And when we do that, the interesting thing is people start to treat us differently. So you will stop being treated like a victim for the most part if you're stepping from a place of your own empowerment. Of course, there's absolutely exceptions to this in a way where there are people that are vulnerable that are in abusive situations. And that's important to acknowledge. And of course, we want to be able to preserve these people's safety. We want to get them to a place of safety. But that's not the only step, right? You need to get that person to a place of safety, and then they need to be able to access their empowerment. Because without that, they could very easily fall into another type of relationship like that. They could very easily end up in a similar scenario. And of course, we have to be careful with this because it's not like we're not trying to put blame on anyone for being in a crap situation or a really challenging relationship. But it still is our responsibility what we do with the stuff that's happened to us in our life and how we're going to then show up. So when I'm doing somatic work with people, sort of a really important first step is to establish safety within ourselves, not outside, within ourselves. So when we can establish safety within the body, when within our being or within our nervous system, then we become very powerful, right? Because it's difficult if we have that within ourselves. That's very hard for any external thing to disrupt. There's always extreme situations that are going to knock you off balance, and some people have worse scenarios than others in terms of what they have to experience in this life. But when we have a sense of that safety within, there's really nothing that can knock you from that. That is a really powerful stance to be in. No matter what happens to you in this world, if you have safety from within, people can't do anything about that, right? So I feel really strongly about this idea of stepping into empowerment. And so much of the somatic work and like somatic experiencing realm is wanting to promote this idea of accessing a healthy aggression. So when we've experienced trauma in our life, we oftentimes, from that sense of disempowerment and victim headspace that is naturally kind of can come along with it, we lose our ability to access a healthy aggression, to assert ourselves and our power in our life. So when we're doing the healing work, we want to be able to try to access that healthy aggression again. And that's part of stepping into this power that we all have. And that comes from a place of safety from within. And then as we do that, how we show up in this world changes. And this is the magical part. How we show up in the world changes, and then how others perceive us and treat us changes. And it is one of the things that lights me up the most about working with people with somatic work is watching that process unfold. And it's something that happens organically as you access that safety within, as you step into your power and start to shine that through to the world. That is such a cool process that is beautiful to watch. So I hope you found this video a little bit inspiring. It's not meant to shame anybody for having been in a victim position, having experienced big trauma, maybe you're very sensitive and the world feels like too much. There's all sorts of reasons why we might feel overloaded by what's coming at us. And it's not to shame you for feeling that way, but just to empower you that you can change how you're showing up in the world. You can establish safety within your body so that you can access your power and change how you show up and how people treat you. Now, I have a 12-week somatic healing program that goes through these steps specifically to help you access your innate vitality. So you can check that out at meganjen.com/empower. And I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and share this video, and I'll see you in the next one.